Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 91 today for the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 5. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Spanish Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But going into Monaco, then we upgraded two parts of the aero, two minor on the front and rear downforce, and thankfully they both come in, so that's going to be the right timing for us. Obviously, we've got Canada up next, which we'll do some engine upgrades for. I felt this was the right time to do the downforce upgrades, of course, because at Monaco, we were running the highest wings, 1111 on the front and rear, just trying to get the max downforce we can out of this car. It has been lacking some downforce. I felt it in the corners at Spain, especially at Baku as well, when we compromised the setup. So hopefully the car doesn't feel too bad. We're going to need plenty of grip out there because it's going to be raining in the first part of qualifying, it looks like, before drying out for Q3. I don't know if we'll even get towards that. It's going to be a challenge to get out of Q1, I think, on the intermediates or the full wets, depending on how much it rains there on Saturday. But I'm hoping the car doesn't feel too bad in the corners and we can try and drag it up. Because, of course, Monaco, out of all the places on the calendar, one of the places where, you know, the driver can do the biggest difference to the car and try and drag it up. So that's what we'll be hoping to do. But going into this weekend, McLaren with some massive upgrades there. And I'm pretty sure, looking at last season where the R&D graph was lining up, McLaren have already maxed out their car now. That is, with those final upgrades there. They've made a massive leap forward, though. So they're going to be in good stead, good pace, I would say, for the next few races whilst other people catch up. But it looks like a lot of teams might be able to max out their cars within the next 3-4 episodes, which is sort of good for us because it then means from then on we're just gaining on them and they're not really gaining anything. And, you know, if in F1, when you're not going forwards, you're really going backwards in terms of you're not making any gains every weekend. So sooner or later, everyone will start bottlenecking just naturally from that, and hopefully that's when we can then make some capital gains. But of course, so far this season, I feel like we're doing a stellar job at basically limiting the damage of how slow the car is right now. It's felt pretty decent in races. The highest position, barring that surprise first place, has been 2 6th places, so happy with that. And so, like I said, let's just see what we can do. Rain on Saturday, though. It could be a very tricky Q1. Let's just see how we go.
We're here at the magical Circuit de Monaco for one of the most challenging qualifying sessions on the Formula One calendar. Who can add their name to the illustrious list of Monte Carlo pole sitters here today? So, could be a tasty one today then, Ants. We've got all the ingredients, that's for sure. Treacherous conditions, an ever-changing racetrack, and one or two cars just behind the pace setters who maybe, just maybe, fancy a bit of an upset after a good performance from them in free practice.
And the question has to be, of course, what is that circuit going to look like in 10 to 15 minutes from now? If you think the rain's going to get worse, then you have to be straight out when the lights go green to find whatever grip you can. But if it eases off, then you're better off waiting, saving the tyres, and going out at the perfect moment. The other thing that comes with these conditions? Traffic, and the lack of visibility that comes from sitting in the spray. It's going to be a constant problem, and I expect to see a lot of frustrated drivers with ruined laps out there today.
Alright, so this first part of qualifying certainly is going to be quite a challenge here on the intermediates. Obviously running the full downforce as we usually would do anyway, even if it was dry 1111 wings here, just to get the max turning and grip really with this car, compromising the straight line speed that we don't necessarily need around here. But it's going to be a challenge for sure to see if we can make it through. It will get fast as we go on through the session, though. You can see we move all the way to the end of Q1. So I've set now two fast times already. I say fast in quotation marks. They're only good enough to get me P18 right now, but I set 2 flying laps. This is my 3rd flyer on another set of new intermediates here. Right at the end of this session, though, because I waited. I did my 2 first flyers consecutively, then waited all the way to the end because the rain was going to stop by Q2 and Q3. So logically speaking, the very end of Q1 here might be the kind of best time to go out there, be a little bit less damp, maybe a few less puddles of standing water, potentially to kind of skate the car around. You can see in the top right there, we've gained a heap of time, actually. The track kind of gets a little bit faster and faster for not only me, but everyone. But across the line we go, up into P5. Eventually, it'll be down to P10, but I was correct. Everyone went a lot faster there, and George Russell got caught out. He's knocked out in Q1. We are through into Q2, and I am very, very happy with that because I believe it will now be dry in the next session and Q3. So I'm really happy with that because I thought it was going to be a slam dunk of us being out in that first part of qualifying, but thankfully, like I said, that kind of evolution of the rain really helped out, and going right at the end instead of just waiting and kind of fast-forwarding the time helped out as well. So here we are. are then in the second part of qualifying. Bit of a rough first lap that was, and turn 1 you saw went a little bit wide and hit the wall, as the track was very green, of course, because it may have started raining, but all the kind of rains washed away the rubber, so we need to kind of grip in the circuit. And also, it was still a little bit damp here and there. But as we move through to the second flying lap, then this is toward the last part of Q2. Now it's kind of more defo dry on the track, basically. There's no standing water or kind of any kind of greasy part of the circuit. On the curbs, feeling a bit more confident, taking those a bit quicker in swing pulls. We go through Larascas, then through to the last corner, gaining a decent amount of time there, losing a little bit on the entry and exit through the last, though. We're in P7 at the moment as it stands. Vettel, fastest of all on the session, across the line there for us. What is it going to be as we wait for the left-hand side? P4 in the end, and that will seal us through into the top 10 shootout for the very first time this season in the Ferrari, which is a very odd sentence to say, but that's just how it's gone in Season 5 so far, so I'm actually pretty damn happy that it's come this early. I thought it was going to take till about halfway through the season, but like I said before, if you're going to do it any place, it would be kind of Monaco, where you can drag the car up if the driver can make the difference there. And the likes of Hamilton, shock exit in Q2, so it was a bit of a topsy-turvy Q2 really, and I think the difference was that kind of, you know, greasy nature of the circuit at the start of the session, and people maybe not running as much as they should have at the end of the session, like I did for that second flyer. So now we move through into Q3. I only have one set of soft tires to burn there, because we did use all 3 new sets in Q2, making those laps count basically, so only one flyer in the middle of the session. Everyone else has already set 1 lap time there. Lando Norris on provisional pole in the newly improved McLaren there. As we swing through the last corner, it felt pretty good in that last sector, across the line. P5, pretty damn decent there. By the end of it though, down to P8, but I'm not too disappointed. P8 is still the highest we've ever qualified so far. Remember, Russell glitched out and got P4 last episode on the grid due to the simulation times, so I'll take P8 there, getting pretty close to that P4 that he got last episode. But Lando Norris on pole position then, that new improved McLaren. Verstappen in second place though, but great show for Williams there. Vettel in third, and his teammate Magnussen in P4 there, so showing some true pace maybe when the engine power maybe doesn't mean as much, and maybe in the chassis as well. Maybe the Williams is just very good at aero, and it's finally showing through. But P8 for us at Monaco, great. That pretty much guarantees us, I want to say, some decent points, because it's very tough to obviously overtake at Monaco. It's hard to go forwards and also, to be fair, backwards, I feel, as well, as long as we don't bottle the strategy. It's just going to be a case of trying to make the moves when we can, but it's going to be very tricky. Over the seasons in this game so far, I've realised that AI seem to be getting more and more aggressive and better at defending as we've gone on through the seasons in this career mode at Monaco. So, I don't know, I think it's going to be a very tough one tomorrow, but thankfully no rain. That's going to be a saving grace for us, so let's just go into it and just make the most of this P8.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That was how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean Sea. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco then. It's not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo, and although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. They've had to retire a couple of times in the last few races. What can you tell us about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo and Faber, Perez, the engineer, Gasly and Valtteri Bottas, Giovinazzi, Stroll, Daniel Kvyat and Hamilton, Leclerc, Butler, George Russell and Nico Hülkenberg, Grosjean and Kimi Räikkönen finishes off the grid. And with lights out just moments away,
Right, so strategy-wise, surprise, surprise, is going to be a one-stop shock horror, really, in Season 5, or the last 2-3 seasons of career mode, really, especially at Monaco anyway. Even with the lower tyre wear from Seasons 1 and 2, it was still pretty much a one-stop, wasn't it? Maybe a two-stop if you're feeling very aggressive, but for sure now, with the tyre wear levels, one-stop, especially with how hard the AI have defended against me from last season. I remember last season was quite a frustrating one to race at Monaco, so hoping for maybe an easier time, but we'll just see, really. It's going to be, I think it's going to be another classic Monaco where it's going to be very tough to overtake. I'm going to have to try and make some moves early on this race and then just settle down and just try and finish the race out, to be frankly honest. But soft tyre to the mediums, that shouldn't be much of an issue. No rain, thankfully, though, so that'll be one less thing to worry about. But here we go then, from P8 on the grid to 5 red lights to the Monaco Grand Prix. Norris on pole, 5 red lights are out, and we're underway, and we are aggressively moving to the right-hand side to cover off the inside from Pierre Gasly there. A little bit of contact made with Sergio Perez on the gearbox there as the FI give us a warning, but no matter. We go down the inside of the Mexican and get the move done nice and early there. Didn't actually think I was going to get that, but he just left the door open there on the curb at turn 1 and got it done. But yeah, a bit of a different tactic there from me, going so aggressive on the start. Literally, as soon as the lights went out, my car was already turning right to cover off Gasly because I knew the inside line was going to be the better one. On the outside, I was definitely going to get squeezed out there. So as we go through the hairpin, that famous view of Monaco there, we're up into P7. Hopefully now that'll be my lucky number P7 coming into fruition for the rest of this race, and maybe we can go forward from here. Let's see, it's going to be tricky as we now move all the way to lap 5 already, and we're still in P7. So surprise, surprise, Monaco was Monaco at the very start of this Grand Prix with heavy fuel, especially with the cars. It's so hard to kind of maneuver and dance the car around and try and suss out somewhere to make a dive on a day shift, overtake basically. So at the moment it's really just getting through the laps and essentially trying to not wear out the tyres too much and see when everyone else is going to blink, basically pull the trigger for their first pit stop, because I feel like when people make that pit stop, it's going to be very important in terms of the undercut and the overcut and where you are in traffic, basically. But George Russell on lap number 8 then is out of the Grand Prix, so I am the only Ferrari left in this Grand Prix then, annoyingly for the team. But it was always going to be tough for Russell, to be fair, to score points from where he was, I think in P16 or 17, I want to say. So it's not too much of an issue, I don't think. But yeah, I don't know where he retired, though. I was kind of hoping a little bit when I went through into turn 1 and saw that sign that would maybe cause a safety car. And you can see as we go through into swimming pool, that's where he's parked up there. And I'm questioning how on earth that's not a safety car. We've had now plenty of safety cars so far this season. They've, new and improved after the patch. I don't know how that wasn't a safety car, so that was a little bit annoying because that could have given me a free pit stop to try something like Baku where we go early onto hard tyres and try and jump some people, but alas, not meant to be, and so we continue to chase after and stare at the back of this rather annoying silver arrow of Daniel Ricciardo. As we transition now into lap number 12, Ricciardo's going to pull the trigger. He comes in for his pit stop then onto, I'm assuming, a set of medium tyres. We open DRS, and now we're going to try and close up to Max Verstappen up ahead, or Lucas Weber rather, as Verstappen is the Renault that actually has pit, so Weber is the one ahead of us, chasing after the Williams of, I think that's Kevin Magnussen, because I believe Vettel is in the kind of top pack of Norris, Vettel and Verstappen in the top 3. But we come through now onto lap 14, and we now lead the Grand Prix, because I wanted to try an overcut strategy, because I was hoping that essentially Weber, Ricciardo and Magnussen would get held up in traffic that I know I've been stuck in before in seasons gone by here at Monaco on this game. So I was really hoping they would get stuck in traffic and we'd maybe be able to jump them on an overcut strategy, even though my tyres were wearing out. But alas, I don't believe that's going to be the case, because I think Ricciardo came out in some actual decent clean air for once on this game, annoyingly. So we come through now out of the pit lane, and we're in P14 at the moment. We stay ahead of Sergio Perez, but you can see everyone that was ahead of us has passed us. But I will say, though, there has been a swap. It's just not including me. Ricciardo has jumped Weber and Magnussen. So in the end, in hindsight, the undercut actually worked out much better, which is odd, because so far in the last few seasons, the overcut seemed to be the way to go, actually. But Ricciardo's done it, and he's jumped the Renault and the Williams. You can see him just ahead there of the Williams, because he's actually in a Williams sandwich there, because he's actually just behind Sebastian Vettel, who's been held up in a bit of traffic then himself. So it looks like maybe Verstappen and Norris have pulled away in the top 2. Then you've got a bit of a gap there. You've got some traffic of the cars that are started on medium tyres, and then you've got Vettel, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Weber, and then myself, and then Sergio Perez a lot further back there on the minimap, as you can see. But we're closing up to Lucas Weber then, And at the moment, I don't know what it is. We're actually not in a rich mix or anything, but the car's feeling quite jumpy and quite fast here through the corners here. I don't know if Waver's on lower ERS modes. We are too, but we're feeling very punchy indeed through the swimming pool, getting a decent amount of time. Down the inside we go there. We get a massive screen freeze though, and that was literally heart in mouth moment there as I made my classic Raskas dive down the inside. Like I said, the car for some reason was feeling overly great on acceleration there, even though I was on standard and low mixture. But then as I went through into the apex, that was obviously the time. Obviously had to be the game's time to have a massive screen freeze. This is what the move looked like without the screen freeze, because I had to go back into the replay camera and re-record it to show you guys, because my recording obviously recorded the screen freeze with it. So looking at that, I actually got pretty damn lucky, because if I kept on going on at the speed I was going, maybe I would have fully smashed off probably Waver's front right tire. I might have had some front wing damage, but thankfully somehow I slowed the thing down, even though I didn't know what I was even doing on my screen, because obviously I couldn't see it visually there. So we made it work, but that definitely was probably one of the most scariest attempts at that Raskas dive I've ever done, not on just this game, but ever really at Monaco. But thankfully made it through. So nice little overtake done on the Renault, and now we go on and try and chase after the Williams car of Magnussen. And even after having that near-death experience there with that move, we're going to try and line up the exact same move on Magnussen. This time no screen freeze included there, lock up on the front left, but get it done smooth as you want down the inside of the Dane in the Williams. Then we get a screen freeze through the last corner, ironically, then afterwards, but we get the move done either way, up into P12, which is now also going to turn into P11 and maybe more as we transition through onto the end of lap 20, onto lap 21 in a train of Ricciardo, and then you've got a Racing Point and a Williams, a Sebastian Vettel up into P7. So we're where we started basically before the pit stops, but we've maybe got some more positions to gain here as we got Vettel hounding the Racing Point car. Very slow for some reason, Hulkenberg is up the hill there, and Vettel having to hustle and harry him, and he's basically slowing us down. You can see clearly that we're being slowed down by the Racing Point car, and so that's going to give us an opportunity to make a dive around the outside at Mirabeau, and we somehow make some space work. Props to Ricciardo for the respect there. And we've just made a move on the outside of Mirabeau. We nearly then smash it into the wall there on the left-hand side. So we just have to compose ourselves. I think I got so excited at that move. But let's just watch that back, because that was absolutely ridiculous. Such an unorthodox place. One of the most unorthodox places to really make a pass, to be honest, here at Monaco. And we get it done. You can see Ricciardo just about manages to find enough space there as we go to the hairpin to give me the room and also keep out the wall there. This is his POV there. Must look very odd indeed. A Ferrari just coming out of nowhere. To be fair, he pinches himself into the wall, and then he's got no choice but to give us some room there. But that was so damn smooth. Hardly any contact really made with him on the side pods there or the tyres. So great stuff there, boys. We move back to our POV. Then straight after that move, we got Vettel with the great dive to the inside there, out of the tunnel there, where Sergio Perez made some massive dives back in 2013, all the way back those years ago, and he's made a great overtake on Hulkenberg. And like I said, the German's definitely got some sort of issue with his car. You can just tell the way his car's moving about that he's just not very confident with his braking and the acceleration and just mid-corner, really. It's just everywhere. And you can see how much Vettel's already gained there. So I need to get past the German as quickly as I can to then try and chase after the Williams potentially. I'm not too sure, what his pace is going to be like now after being released by the Racing Point car, but we need to get past the Racing Point car either way. So up the hill, not able to do it into turn one, but can we have a look around the outside into the casino? No, we can't, but that was always going to be a very audacious place to try and make a move. But I think people will say the same thing about around the outside of Mirabeau. We're going to try that for a second time, and for the second time we might just pull it off there. Very close there, a little bit of contact made on the barrier with the Hulkenberg, and I think the front wing came off a little bit, the end plate came off for the Racing Point car, but we've made it work somehow again. We live to fight another day through that section, and lo and behold, we're now up into P4 of this GP. We've got clean air to work with, we've got some fuel to work with, and we're going to go try and chase after Sebastian Vettel, and it takes lap 25 for us to close up. For a few laps there, I didn't think it was going to happen, but then lap 24 was the turning point where I think Vettel started to slow down a little bit. Perhaps he ran out of fuel to use in Rich Mix, and perhaps he's starting to save some ERS, because immediately I started to gain on him, and then our car just lit up as soon as I put in some ERS there in the first sector. Purple first sector for us, then green second sector. So it's been a very, very decent lap there. And we're closing up to Sebastian Vettel. Can we make a move at Raskas? No, not meant to be. Didn't really fancy it down the inside there, nor the outside. Instead, we'll stick behind him and just kind of keep him busy in the mirrors, as it were, as we now move through onto the main straight. Having a little look with DRS here. Can we make a pop around the outside? No, again. Vettel places his car really well, but he's slow mid-corner, and we switch back to the right-hand side. We're now side by side up the hill. Bit of contact made with Vettel and the wall. Can we sail it round the outside now to the inside of Casino, the audacious place where we couldn't get it done on the Racing Point car? We get it done on the Williams there, and that's 3 pretty insane overtakes at Monaco done in a row there on the Mercedes, Racing Point and Williams car. And with that, we're up into 3rd place of the Monaco GP in the podium positions in the Ferrari. What a second stint this has been at Monaco. The first stint was so dreary, classic Monaco. The start of that stint was also the same, but then we just came alive as soon as we caught up to that train. Had enough of basically just sitting back there, and the car, like I said, just felt surprisingly great. Like, it just felt so punchy off the corners there, and just felt like I had confidence finally basically to make those moves. And so lo and behold, we come through the last few corners on lap 39 to come through for a brilliant podium at the Monaco Grand Prix.
Great drive, great drive. We're really happy with that performance.
Brilliant stuff from McLaren today. What a superb victory. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, tyre management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm really happy to see them there on the top step of the podium.
So another really decent Grand Prix where we capitalise on potentially other people having issues mid-race, especially Hulkenberg. That was a massive catalyst for us, holding up Ricciardo and Vettel. I don't think I would have actually got Vettel or even maybe Ricciardo if Hulkenberg didn't hold them up so much. And then, like I said, it was very odd just halfway through that kind of second phase of that stint at the end there. Vettel just started coming back towards me as the car sped up and he slowed down. Maybe some tyre wear kicked in, I'm not too sure, but great haul of points there. Still maintaining P4 in the constructors for Ferrari. For us in the Drivers' Championship individually, we're still P4 as well. So, yeah, just ticking along, really, and just trying to do the best job we can, making the most of it, really, before we get to the point where the car can actually consistently get podiums and, you know, hopefully go for proper race wins where we're not lucking in with a safety car kind of strategy, basically. Because even this podium, really, there is a bit of luck to that. You know, I don't think we've fully really got to the point where we've earned the podium or win on merit with, like, you know, the car's categorically fast enough to get it. So we're still yet to get to that point, but obviously F1 is all about trying to make the most of your situation also whilst you're trying to play catch up, and I think we're as an individual and as a team doing just that. So we come through then with upgrades, looking ahead to the Canadian GP, 2 engine upgrades, one of them being the one we didn't fix last episode, so that was a cheaper one, and we also went with an ERS upgrade there, so hopefully I can use some kind of overtake mode and hot lap mode a little bit more at the Canadian GP. And also then I went with a air upgrade on the DRS. I was going to do another engine upgrade, ERS one, but I thought maybe 3 in one go might be too much, high chance of one of them failing, so I'll go for an error update there. DRS, because, well, we are not qualifying that well as of late. Ignore this one, as before this episode we haven't really qualified that well, so I feel like a DRS upgrade would actually be quite useful for us, just to get past people quicker in the race, basically, where we've actually got some decent pace. So that's the logic there. Thankfully at Monaco we used all the kind of worn parts of the first column, so next episode we're going to have a pretty fresh engine compared to this one there, so that's doubly good news for us at the end of this one. So guys, if you did enjoy that Monaco GP, a great podium for us, I must say, from where we were in PA, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been Aarava. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.